Welcome to Trucking with Liberty. Today we are going to be going over the fuel economy that I've been getting with my DEF usage. We will also be going over whether or not fuel locks, which I have been adding to my diesel fuel since I believe it's November of last year, whether or not I am seeing an increase, decrease, or any change at all in my DEF usage. So let's go on over to the DEF usage page. So this is from when I first started tracking my DEF usage. And that is starting April 12th of last year is when I started tracking it. I have it saved prior to this, but my issue was I couldn't get accurate numbers of gallons. That's what I failed to keep records of on some of my earlier transactions. But this is a year and a half or so of fuel data for DEF. So let's go over this. I pretty much pay the same price for DEF. There's a truck stop that used to sell it for $2.97 a gallon here close to me, but since then they have raised their price. Now, if you are looking for a truck stop that sells cheap DEF, I get it at the QT. Every location of theirs I go to, they sell it for $3.29 a gallon. So that's where I get DEF at. So my price per gallon does not really change, as you can see here. Remains pretty flat. There's not the fluctuations like there are with the diesel fuel. But let's go over this. So right down here, that's when I started using the fuel locks. So the miles per gallon, some of this is even prior to me putting the aerodynamics on. Let's see, when did I put that on? Looks like May-ish. Middle of May I put it on. Not sure if that made a huge difference. It might have made a little bit of a difference, but I don't have enough records prior to that. But anyways, my DEF usage is typically at least 200 miles per gallon of DEF, as you can see here. I can't really say what causes it to be times where I use more or less. I very, very rarely idle my truck, as I got a Park Smart system. So this is all just normal driving and then shutting the truck off when I get where I'm going, other than a brief warm up and cool down for the truck before I stop or start for the day. But cost of operation for a DEF, less than 2 cents per mile. There's not a whole lot that I could think of to really say about this chart, other than in the wintertime it gets worse. In the wintertime it is less than 200 miles per gallon. Summertime it gets close to 300. As you can see, I had some pretty good numbers even before I started using fuel locks, all the way up to, well, actually here in May, nearly 300 miles per gallon for DEF usage. And then here on line 24 is when we first started using DEF. My first fuel up, 188.6 miles per gallon, but this is also winter time. And I have noticed in the winter, you use a lot more DEF. Like, it struggles to really get much above, well, it struggles to even get to 200 miles per gallon in the winter time, as you can see. So once it starts getting warmer, it's pretty easy to get 200 miles per gallon on my truck for the DEF. My top is 312 miles per gallon with DEF, and this is after I started using fuel locks. So I did some calculations already. So to compare it, before I started using fuel locks, I was averaging 225 basically and a half miles per gallon for DEF before I started using it. The grand total from once I started using it is 276. This number here does not include winter driving. So what I did is, in order to make it apples to apples, at least the best I could, whenever I totaled this number, this is from April 13th. So you add up all these lines, well, these lines, and then you get 276 miles per gallon. So how do I make this to where I can compare it to before I used DEF? Well, I added up all these numbers and then did some division. I get 242 miles per gallon. So before, when I was not using fuel ox or any additives, I was getting 242 miles per gallon. Now I get 276 miles per gallon. That equates to a savings of 12%. So 12% savings on DEF usage by using fuel ox from my little non-scientific calculation. So if y'all want to see, y'all could see the miles per gallon chart. I am planning on continuing running fuel ox. I want to actually run it at least to November, but I'll probably just keep running it because I'm seeing these fuel savings. Part of me would like to see what it's going to do without, but I do think, and here's the container that I use. This is fuel ox. That's the back. I ordered it in a half-gallon jug. I think it does do wonders. Here, I'll pull up the web page about it right quick. There we go. And I'm not trying to sell this. This is just from my studies. This is what it says it's supposed to do. It says it's supposed to even help increase regular fuel economy. We'll go back to the other chart because I personally don't see the savings in regular fuel economy. Because I think I've notated it on this one as well. Yeah, here I started using fuel ox. I'm not really seeing any huge jumps in fuel economy. That was 11.22 last year. That would be roughly, that's price per gallon, I'm sorry. That'd be roughly right here. So if you go from the chart right here into the right, my fuel economy does get better, but I quite honestly blame that more so on the fact that I changed my driving habits compared to whether or not the fuel ox actually worked. But I have not had much issues. I think the key thing here where it says this reduces emissions in regions, I have never had to do a parked region on my truck. I've not had any issues. I'm a big fan of the fuel ox. I also run this in my truck. You add that to the oil. I've not had issues. Anytime I change oil, I add that to the oil, and then I also run the grease. And I run the winter fuel additive. If it gets really cold, and I've never had the truck gel up, it would be the I think it's a cold charge. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's this cold charge here. Well, of course it doesn't show the 8 ounce. But I just get it in the real little containers, and my truck does not gel up. The fuel does not gel up at all. So that's what I do. Unless this is freeze guard. It's this freeze guard. I'm sorry. It must be. I don't know. There's an additive, and I'm probably looking at the wrong one. But there's an additive that I use, and it comes in the real little containers. And I have no issue with it whatsoever. Yeah, here we go. This is what it is. Cold charge. Yes. Fairly certain this is what I run in the wintertime if I go up to Minnesota or Wisconsin and it's super cold. That's what I'll run. But let's get back to the DEF and I'll finish out this video. So, and here we're on diesel. We want the DEF. Miles per gallon, it has gone up. And again, roughly right here where my pointer is, that's when I started using the fuel locks. The fuel locks is added to the diesel, not the DEF. It's added to the diesel. It does go up. I mean, it goes down, but that's winter. Once it starts warming up, this is late March, then it starts going up. My fuel price per gallon, like I said, it stays pretty flat. They got me one time for $4.11 per gallon, but other than that, not too much. Cost per mile, it's always between 2 cents and 1 cent per mile, basically. But I don't know. I'm a big fan of the fuel locks. I use their products. I was tempted on, and I might try it, but if I do try it, it's going to be after I get a full year of fuel locks usage, which would be late November. When that would be the soonest I would switch off of fuel locks just to experiment. I would like to experiment with Hot Shot Secret. I've heard really good things about them as well. I've not used any of their products, but I do want to try using their products at some point. But the soonest I will start would probably be December. But this is what I got for the DEF usage. And if you do want to get some fuel locks, use DIY Semis promo code, just DIY Semi in the checkout whenever you order your products from Fuel Locks, and you'll get a pretty good discount. And I honestly, if you do use Fuel Locks, I recommend using his discount even without, like, don't go through one of their salespeople. Like, once you order this stuff, they do call you. That's one thing I'm not real fond of. But they don't blow up your phone. It's like once every other month they'll give you a call and ask if you want more. But I stopped buying from the salesman because I'm wanting to support DIY Semi. That guy does a lot for us. I'm a real big fan of his. But I hope y'all like this. Hope this was helpful for someone. It was kind of eye-opening to me because I did not think this Fuel Locks actually did that big of a difference. But I mean, once I did the calculations, because if you just look at these numbers, to me anyways, nothing jumps out like, oh yeah, I am saving on DEF usage. But once you do the calculations, there's no arguing with math. I mean, 242 without miles per gallon and now 276 with fuel locks. That's, or no, yeah, that was right. Yeah, that's a pretty big jump. But if you like this, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.